Hi, I'm Christopher Hitchcock. This is my project and portfolio week 4, and this week I took a similar approach to what we did week 2. Copied some of my week 2 uh, project over here. I used the index page and the JS, but made substantial changes to really all of them. As you'll see here in the HTML, it's pretty slim. I'm actually appending everything into this article here, and then you'll see I included links here. I'll update this YouTube link again, but that'll be at the bottom of the page. But really the meat and potatoes, I suppose, is over here. So I included the API that I'm using, the URL, and which data is coming from where. In this one, I wanted to, so I still use the instant evoking function expression, and I wanted to use a mixture of the object literal and the class approach. So you'll see here, I used a class to create a person, and I have my getters here, as well as a conversion or a helper method on this person class. Here's that template I was talking about. So very, very simple. I'm using a character template in a template literal here that's going to give the name, the person name, which it's using that getter function from up here. It's doing the same thing for height for the wiki link that's going to give them more information, and then the image source itself. So then here's my object, galaxy. It's going to again include it. Here you'll notice my indexer is actually starting at 1. The reason for that is the JSON object that I'm pulling in has starts at 1, the ID does, so everything's pulled off of that. So I accounted for everything else using that then. And here's really the big part right here is the getter function. I'm sorry, the fetch. And so I have two of them that you'll see here. One of them, really this one, it's pulling all JSON. It's I'm using that just strictly to get a count of the entire JSON file. That way, if in the future there's more added, some are taken away, whatever, it's not not going to blow up the program here. Then this one's really the one that is being used to create a person. Um, I'm using a string literal here so that I can use the Galaxy indexer to pull the correct ID of the JSON file, or the actual ID that it's pulling. From there it runs through, gets the response. Then I'm setting data equal to U, which was the JSON that was returned, and then from there I'm passing that into do the create person function here. And the reason I'm doing it that way is when it's done functionally like this, it's ensuring that this has already finished prior to running here. Otherwise, I'm going to run into issues because of how this is running asynchronously. So then just running and it's passing, or I'm sorry, it's creating the person based off that data, name, image, height, wiki, and then going and replacing the inner HTML with the template that I showed you before and the person in there. So other than that, using a listener on both of the buttons, and then when the button's clicked, it's checking to make sure that we are greater than the first element. And if that is so, it's going to subtract 1 and then reset the active. Otherwise, it's going to tell us that it's the first scene. And it works exactly the opposite way on the alternative one. So with that, this is what I ended up with, and apologize for the big images. If this was a CSS class, I would have spent more time worrying about these. But as you can see, the data is being brought in and it is working the way that it's supposed to. So the biggest issue that I initially ran into on this project was what I had just explained here with the fetch. Before I was using the program here, I was setting the data, and I'd notice if I ran the debugger, it would finish and I would actually be able to capture my data and console log it. If I didn't, then it was returning undefined over and over and over, and it was annoying me to no extent. Finally fixed that by creating a function and passing it through that function. And then as far as the uh, any questions I have left, the only thing I do wonder about is obviously here I'm just using fetch. I did see some places in my research where they had recommended using a sync and a wait, and I couldn't quite figure out how to run that, even with the research and reading through a bunch of the different things. So that would be the biggest thing that I had questions about. But hopefully you liked my project, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.